It's a brand new one.
No, I just came on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? No, I've seen that. Yeah, this I'm using for the harmony. Yeah, I'm gonna see. So I thought you fixed the mic, no? I thought you fixed this mic. I fixed it. Huh? I fixed it. Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganakam Prapta Sakalyana Gurunana Vasya Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Prapta Sakalyana Gurunana Vasya Bande Guru Shri Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romanchakam Pasu Taranga Bhajo Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Romanchakam Pasu Taranga Bhajo Bande Guru Shri Shri Vigrara Dhana Nityanana Shringara Tanma Diramajanado Juktasya Bhaktamsya Niyunjatapi Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Kritvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shariva Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shradikama Dabayara Para Madhura Lila Gunarupa Namna Shradikama Madhura Lila Pratikshana Swa Dhanalopasya Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Ne kunjayono Rati Kelisidhai Jajali Bhir Apekshaniya Nikunjayono Siddhai Jayali Tatrati Daksha Ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Sakchadharitena Shamasta Shashre Rukta Tatha Bhavyataiva Sadhavi Sakchadharitena Shamasta Shashre Rukta Tatha Bhavyataiva Kintu Prabhurja Priyaiva Tasya Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasastin Sandhyam Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasastin Sandhyam Bande Guru Shri Charanaro Vrindam Dayan Suvam Tatya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vachatarisha Tarine Namaste Saraswati Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hariyaraya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namah Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Vrishabhanu Nandini, Shri Radhe, Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini, Jaya Shri Radhe, Govinda Moini, Jaya Shri Radhe, Govinda Moini, Ashasaki Shiromoni, Radhe Radhe, Astasaki Shiromoni, O Vrindavana Vilasini, Radhe Radhe, Kanumana Mohini, Radhe Radhe, Kanamana Mohini, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Sitaram Jayo Lakshman Hanuman. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari 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 Haribo. Jai Vishnu Paramansa Prabhayakacharya Ashtutara Sarasishimad ISKCON Pratishta Bibiti Samstapakacharya Vaishnavasya Ramani Gaura Priya Jana Krishna Prema Bhakti Datta Patita Pavana. His Divine Grace Abhacharamina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai. Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patitu Dhar Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatra Gunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Gunasat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kohosya Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Jai Param Dayal Se Nityananda Prabhu Ki Prema Nama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandana Shman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaura Hari Mavranaya Avatar Ki Jai. Golokera Pramadhan Hari Nam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai. Yoga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Brihatmdanga 29 और बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जाए. श्री राधा कृष्णा गोप गोपना राधा कुंसम कुन गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जाए. श्री ब्रज वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जाए. The Lordship Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki jai. Vrishabhanu Nandini Shri Srimati Radharani ki jai. Kanamana Mohini Shri Srimati Radharani ki jai. Govina Nandini Srimati Radharani ki jai. Vrindavana Vilasini Srimati Radharani ki jai. Asta Sakhi Shromani Srimati Radharani ki jai. जय श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप चक्रधाम की जय. परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय. श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. रथ यात्रा महोत्सव की जय. श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय. भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन करण सिंहरे भगवान की जय. जगंगा माय जमुना माय की जय. तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय. श्री माता राधा रानी की Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai. Nitai Gaurati Pramanande. All glory to the humble bodies. All glory to the humble bodies. All glory to the humble bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Pralada Dadaine. Pralada Dadaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilatankanakalae. Shilatankanakalae. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha.
Ito Narsimha
Parato Narsimha. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha.
Ito
Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha. Yato Yami Tato Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha.
Bahir Narsimha
Hridaye Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Narasimha Madim शरणं प्रपदे नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे सिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलबरे नाखाम् अद्भुत शृङ्गार दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमल बरे नाखाम् अद्भुत शृङ्गार ललिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंह जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभु जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय शील प्रभुपाद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
श्री वृंदायै तुलसी देवाय प्रियायै केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सतवत्ताय नमो नमः वृंदायै तुलसी देवाय प्रियायै केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सतवत्ताय नमो नमः वृंदायै तुलसी देवाय प्रियायै केशव सत्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रादे देवी सतवत्ताय नमो नमः जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः।
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो यही अभिलाषी।
श्री राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो यही अभिलाषी।
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः।
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी
ये तो मारा शरण लो तारा वांछा पूर्ण हो।
ये तुम्हारा शरण लो, तारा वांछा पूर्ण हो।
कृपा कोरी करो तारे वृंदावनवासी।
तुम्हें कृपा करे करो हरे वृंदावनवासी।
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः।
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः।
मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो वास।
मोरा हे विलास कुंज दियो
नयन हरिबो सदा जुगल रूप राशि।
अमिनायाने सदा
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः।
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी
यही निवेदनादारो सखीरानुगता करो।
तेने वेदना
कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः। এই নিবেদন ধারো সাখির অনুগাত করো, এই নিবেদন ধারো সাখির অনুগাত করো, সেবায়াধিকার দিয়ে করো নিজ দাসী। दीना कृष्णा दासे को ये नाम राय, दीना कृष्णा दासे को ये नाम राय। श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा ये न भासी, श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी। तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः। यानि कानि च पापानि प्रमात्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि प्रमात्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि प्रमात्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि प्रमात्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jayo Vrinda Devi Jayo Vrinda Devi Jayo Vrinda Devi Jayo Vrinda Devi. Jayo Vrinda Devi Jayo Vrinda Devi Jayo Vrinda Devi Jayo Vrinda Devi. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Pradevi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Pradevi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha. As within my vision of always the holy, beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a fellow Canadian Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me ornament servant. He's very full and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always fame in love Shri Radha and Govinda Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Brinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai. Cheto Darpanama Janam Bhava Mahada Bhagni Nirvapanam Shri Akariva Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadu Jivanam Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam Pratiparam Purnamrita Sadhanam Sarvatmasnam Paramparam Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Ita Drishitava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaivam Idrishamiya Janina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sashnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vajagari shakamaye mama janmane jamanishwari bhavata bhakti rahitu kitvayi ainandatanu jakinkaram patitamam vishame bhavam bhudo kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya nayanam galora shrudharaya Vadanam gada gada rudaya gira Pulakai nichitam vapukada Tavanam agrane bhavisati Jugaitam nimishena Chakyusha pravrusaitam Shunya itam jagata sarvam Govinda virahena me Aslishava padaratam pinashtumam Adarshnar marmahatam karotuva Jata tathava vidadhatulam pato mat pranatastu saivana paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Okay. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I'm so unfortunate I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree,
devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord unconditionally. Oh, my Lord, I don't desire wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers.
I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I am falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if his hand isn't roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally.
Shri Chaitanya Siksastikam ki jai. Namo.
So there are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1.
To
Blaspheme his voice with dedicated life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, our Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the very scriptures or scriptures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which often Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisance unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just our desire trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasinduvyeva patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Gita Srimati Bhakti Srimati Shrimati Radharani ki jai. Lord Jagannath ki jai. No Guru Vanda?
Huh?
No Guru Vanda? Guru Vanda? No. Okay.
I have to go quickly. So today we're going to have our Jagannath Rath Yatra. Monday we're going to celebrate Radhastami. We can't do both of them today, so we'll do one at a time. And since it is Jagannath's Rath Yatra today, I'm going to explain the history of the Lord Jagannath. And it goes back to Satya Yuga, when there was a king, Indradumna, who had great longing to see a special deity of Krishna called Nila Madhava that he had heard about, but he had never seen. And he had such a hankering or a strong desire to see the deity face to face. Now, obviously, just because you desire something doesn't mean it'll happen right away. But when you desire to see Krishna, or you desire to meet a pure devotee of Krishna, it will happen. It's just a matter of time. And the more one yearns to see Krishna or his pure devotee, eventually the Lord will arrange that possibility. Everything depends on, man proposes, God disposes. So if we have a very strong desire to see Krishna face to face, or to see Krishna's pure devotee face to face, it will happen. It's just a matter of remaining faithful to that wish and not giving it up. And whenever we wish good things, we get good results. So we should learn to always wish to be with Krishna, to be engaged in Krishna's service, and also to be blessed by the association of pure devotees. And it will happen. There's no doubt about it. So King Indradumna kept that desire very strong in his heart. And because of that, the Lord was going to definitely bless him. But it took some time. So one day when King Indradumna, who was a very saintly king and the king of the whole world at that time. He was lamenting not being able to serve Krishna or Jagannath directly. So there was a person, a Brahmana, and Indradyumna, when he understood Lord Indradyumna's very strong desire to see this Nilamadhava deity, he started searching. And he went to many different places, this is basically Orissa, or that area. And so one day, while he was traveling, he heard, he stayed in the house. He came to a community of which are people who are tribals, and they're called the Sabaras. And at that time, he met this one young lady, and she was waiting for her father to come back. And when the father came back, the young Brahmana boy asked if he could stay with them, and the father said yes. And one thing led to another, and at one point the father asked him if he would like to marry his daughter, and he agreed. And why was he interested to stay there? And because when he met the daughter of the Sabara, she told him, well, my father worships the Nila Madhava deity, and he's away right now, but he'll be back soon. So that's what clicked in his mind, because he was looking for this deity, and he was just traveling, just hoping to find the deity somehow to help Lord Indradyumna attain his desire to serve the deity. So he marries the daughter, and over a period of time, he keeps asking her. He saw that the father would leave at a certain time and come back at a certain time, and he never said where he was going. So eventually the daughter told him that he's going to worship the deity. So the boy kept pestering his wife to convince the father, please let him take me, I want to see the deity also. So eventually the father agreed, but he blindfolded the Brahmana boy, and he took him. And but the Brahmana boy kept a little bag of mustard seeds secretly in his dhoti, and as they walked through the jungle, he kept dropping the seeds in the pathway. He couldn't see because he was blindfolded, and he was being led by the father. So eventually they arrived to where the deity is of Nilamadhava. It's a very sacred place. And the father asked him, you wait here, I have to go and pick some flowers, and then I'll come back and we'll do the worship. And the boy said, all right. So while he was waiting, he noticed there was some birds, and one bird fell down, and there was a lake there, and there was a high, let's say, cliff, and this bird fell down from the cliff into the lake. And all of a sudden, it comes out of the lake with a celestial body and goes back to Godhead. And when the boy saw that, he climbed up the cliff to jump off also into the lake and go back, Godhead. And then a voice spoke to him and said, don't do that, please. You have to keep your vow that you wanted to find Nilamadhava. And he was seeing the deity now also. And the voice told him that you can't jump into the lake like this. You just wait and bring the information to King Indradyumna. So the boy didn't jump off the cliff, and eventually they go back, and he got blindfolded again by the father, and they go back. But at that point, he reveals what his purpose is. And he asked permission to leave the Brahmana and his wife and go and tell King Indradumna where the deity is. So he goes and tells the king, and the king immediately orders his army and himself to go to the jungle abode of Nilamadeva. But when he gets there, the deity is not there. And also, the Brahmana, the Sabara priest who was worshipping the deity became very, very morose. He also didn't want the king to come, but now the secret was out where the deity is. But when the king gets there, the deity is not there. And so both the king and the Sabra priest, they're both very forlorn and very, very sad that they can't see the deity anymore. But a voice speaks to the king and says, look, I'm going to appear, but in a different way to you. So do not be worried. You will see me eventually. So the name of the Sabari tribal priest is called Vishwavasu. And the name of the young boy, it's called Vidyapati. So at this point, King Indradumna he decides to go and see Lord Brahma to get his help. Now, obviously, it's not easy to go see Lord Brahma. So King Indradumna was a very, very pious person. He had pure desires in his heart. And this should be a signal to us that when we have pure desires to serve Krishna and pure desires to, let's say, do wonderful things for the Lord, then if we keep those desires as very fervent and fixed in our mind and not praying for anything materialistic, simply focused on doing these good things or these good deeds to please the Lord, it will happen. But it might not happen right away. So with the king, he goes to Brahmaloka and he meets Lord Brahma, but he has to wait to meet him. Well, there's this relativity of time in the universe. So if you wait 1 minute or 10 minutes or half an hour to see Lord Brahma, it could be hundreds and thousands of years on the earth. So after he sees him and he comes back, there's no kingdom. And in the meantime, he was told when he heard the voice at the place where Nilamadeva was, the voice said, you build a temple for the Lord and he will appear. So he built that temple. Right? And before he goes to see Brahma, and when he comes back, there's no temple. So much time went by that the temple got covered by sand. And he's shocked, But at that point, Narada Muni appears. And he explains, what's happened and tells the king not to worry. And that Nilamadeva had withdrawn to his eternal abode, but he has a desire to be worshipped in opulence, because when the Sabara priest was worshipping him, it was just with flowers and fruits from the forest, all natural things. But at one point, Nilamadeva wanted to be worshipped with great opulence by King Indradumna. So at that point, King Indradumna is told that, look, I'm going to appear in the form of a great wooden log, and you'll be able to carve my figurine from that log, and then you'll be able to worship me. So, and Narada Muni explains this also to the king. So at that point, the king is looking for that log, and they find it, and he again, they uncover the temple that was built by him, and now they're going to bring the log to the Temple Mount and have it carved. And he asked many people to help, and no one can move the log. It's too heavy, and no one can even chisel it because the chisels break when they try and touch it. So this is a real dilemma. And at that point, a person appears. Actually, it's the reincarnation of the Sabara priest. So this is many years after all the initial activities took place, and after Lord Brahma's, the king's visit to Lord Brahma and then coming back. So it's like thousands of years later, Vishwavasu reappears in another form, and he's able to move the log. And they're all shocked. How can he do it? Because they tried with hundreds of people to move the log. They couldn't do it, and he's moving it. So anyway, they bring the log up into the palace of the king. And at that point, Lord Jagannath himself appears as a Brahmana, and he wants to sculpt the log, and he does, but he makes a condition that it'll take 21 days, and he wants to be locked up in a room, and no one should disturb him, and if for any reason he's disturbed, then he'll disappear, and the work will be interrupted. Well, after 14 days, the king doesn't hear anything. He's always listening through from the other side of the locked door, and he doesn't hear anything. So he gets anxious, and he breaks the lock and opens the door, and the sculptor, who's Lord Jagannath himself, is not there anymore. And what he sees is what he considers unfinished sculpting, right? So at that point, Narada Muni appears and explains things to the king, and so at that point, the king orders that the seemingly unfinished sculpture be painted, and they get and also there's Balaram and Subhadra that along with Jagannath. That was another surprise to the king, and Narada Muni explains everything to him, and he feels very confident now that everything is right, that he didn't commit a sin by breaking open the door, and they install the deities. Now, at one point, Narada Muni tells him, "Look, king, this form that you're seeing here, the Lord, is not surprising to me." He said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I've seen this before." He said, "Really?" He said, "Yes. When Krishna's pastimes were taking place, he and Balaram left Vrindavan, and they went to Mathura, and then from Mathura they went to Dwarka, and then at one time Krishna and his queens and Balaram and Subhadra, Krishna's sister, came to Kurukshetra for an eclipse of the sun, and at that time the residents of Vrindavan, who were missing Krishna very much because he had left and went to Mathura and then later on to Dwarka, they also came to see him. And the camp of Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda Mai and the gopis and Radharani was a little bit distant from the camp of Krishna with all his queens, Rukmini and Satyabhama and so forth. And when Krishna heard that the residents of Vrindavan, and especially Radharani, Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda Mai were not far away, he, Balaram, and Radharani came walking toward that encampment to see, Krishna's foster father, see Radharani. And when they approached, they heard them talking about how much they loved Krishna. And Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra, hearing this, they went into a state of extreme ecstasy, transcendental ecstasy, and their bodies became what you might call warped, or their arms went into their body, and they assumed the form of Jagannath, Subhadra, and Baladev, which is due to the extreme ecstasy that they experienced. Now, this is not a strange thing, because when one goes into extreme states of ecstasy, sometimes their body deforms. In other words, it's not that it becomes ugly or anything like that, but the arms can go into the body, the legs can go into the body, and so forth. Something that we can't really imagine ourselves. But it's because of extreme ecstasy. And at that point, Narada Muni explains, I've seen this form of the Lord before, right? So that assuaged, or it comforts King Indradumna that he didn't make any big mistake, and this is a special form of the Lord in a state of extreme ecstasy due to the love of his devotees. So then the installation of the deity takes place in the Holy Dham, and it's basically the same place where the temple of Jagannath is present today. So that's a very ancient temple. The story goes back to Satya Yuga, which is millions of years ago, right? And then there's a big gap of time between King Indradumna building the temple, and then the temple gets lost or buried in sand, and then he comes back from Brahmaloka. So it's over a long period of time. So this is one of the oldest temples in India. Now, the modern history of the temple is that it was rebuilt in the 12th century, etc., etc. But it's much, much older than that. So this is now, what is the significance of this Rath Yatra? Well, when the gopis and Nanda Maharaj, Yasoda Mai, they see Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra, at that point they are so ecstatic because they haven't seen them for such a time. But the queens of Krishna also come, and in that company, the gopis feel very shy because they can't express how much love they have for Krishna intimately to the Lord. So they begin to desire from their heart, please Krishna, we can't express our love for you now because you have all these very high-class queens with you, and we're just cowherd girls, and they would just ridicule us. Please come with us, come back to Vrindavan, to its pristine natural beauty and natural setting, where there's beautiful birds and wonderful trees and fruits and flowers and fragrances, and let us express our intimate love for you again there. So this bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan in the hearts of the gopis is the feeling that one has when the Rath Yatra cart is leading Jagannath, Subhadra, and Baladev. They take the Rath Yatra cart from Puri to another temple, right? And that's significant of taking Krishna back to Vrindavan, and the deities stay in that other temple for a 2-week period, and then have another parade back. So this taking Krishna back to Vrindavan to express the intense love of the gopis and Radharani for Krishna is the very deep emotional and transcendental experience of the Rath Yatra. And that's why it's a very special festival. It only can be understood by devotees, and especially when we're pulling the Ras cart, we're in the mood of the gopis taking Krishna back to Vrindavan. Hari Bol. So thank you very much. And that's just a summary of the story. There's a lot of details. I wasn't able to tell everything. But I thought I wanted to explain that this morning so we know what is the meaning and the significance of the Rath Yatra festival. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I have to go now. We're setting up things still. And I hope you all come. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
As morning we announced, right, the traffic will close at